What if the person sitting next to you right now wasn't really human? Sounds like a horror movie, right? But what if I told you there are real stories, true stories, of people who've encountered something or someone that defies explanation? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will make you question everything you think you know about the world around you. Imagine this. You're walking home late at night. The streets are empty, the air is cold, and then you hear it, a faint whisper just behind you. You turn around, but no one's there. You shake it off, telling yourself it's just your imagination. But then it happens again, closer this time, and this time you feel it, a breath on the back of your neck. You start to run, but no matter how fast you go, the whispers follow. This isn't a scene from a movie. This is a real story from someone just like you. And it's only the beginning. Here's the chilling truth. The world is full of shadows. And in those shadows, there are things we can't explain. Things that wear masks, not of cloth or plastic, but of flesh and bone. They walk among us, hiding in plain sight. And sometimes, if you're unlucky, or maybe if you're too curious, you'll catch a glimpse of what's behind the mask. Today, I'm sharing 3 real stories from people who did just that. And trust me, by the end, you'll be looking over your shoulder. Story 1, The Neighbor Who Never Aged. This comes from a woman named Sarah. She moved into a small town, eager for a fresh start. Her neighbor, an elderly man named Mr. Grayson, was kind and always waved hello. But something felt off. He looked the same every day, not a wrinkle out of place. One night, Sarah woke up to a tapping on her window. She looked out and saw Mr. Grayson standing there, smiling. But his face, it wasn't right. It was too smooth, too perfect, like a mannequin. The next morning, she went to his house. The door was open. Inside, she found photos, hundreds of them, dating back over a century. And in every one, Mr. Grayson looked exactly the same. Story 2, The Stranger on the Train. This one comes from a man named Alex. He was on a late-night train, heading home after a long day. The car was empty, except for one other passenger, a woman in a red coat. She sat across from him, staring straight ahead. Alex tried to ignore her, but something felt wrong. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow. When the train stopped, she turned to him and smiled. But her smile, it stretched too far, like her skin was pulling apart. Alex got off at the next stop, shaken. The next day, he saw a news report. A woman in a red coat had gone missing on that train line 50 years ago. Story 3, The Reflection That Didn't Match. This last story comes from a teenager named Mia. She was brushing her teeth one night when she noticed something strange in the mirror. Her reflection was off. It was smiling when she wasn't. She blinked, thinking it was a trick of the light. But then her reflection reached out and touched the glass. Mia screamed and ran, but when she looked back, the mirror was empty. No reflection at all. To this day, she refuses to look into mirrors at night. Here's the terrifying realization. The world is far stranger than we want to believe. These stories aren't just campfire tales, they're warnings. Because sometimes the mask slips, and when it does, you see what's really there. Something ancient, something hungry, something that doesn't belong in our world. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So, what do you think? Are these just stories? Or is there something more lurking in the shadows? If you've ever felt like you're being watched, or if you've seen something you can't explain, share your story in the comments below. And if you're brave enough to dive deeper into the unknown, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. because the shadows are always watching. And the next story could be yours.